This is a side shot of my house. I'm redoing the siding on it. Bear with me. This all plays into what I'm talking about today, about the alternative Catholic economy. This deck too, I built this summer. I made all of the lumber, same with the siding. I made all of that on my own little sawmill. So, home, yeah. I've never had a mortgage. I was determined from day one to not ever be in that position. So what I did was I bought a mobile home when I first got married, actually just before I got married. And within 2 or 3 years we had it paid off. But by the time we had, I'd say 6 kids or so, it was time to start thinking about, well, we need more room. So what was I going to do? Well, I bought myself a little sawmill, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. And I added on. I added on to it, and I added bedrooms and a new living room and a dining room, all with lumber that I cut. I had some friends help me build it because I'm not a very good carpenter that way. I can do things like decks and stuff like that, but I just want you to take into consideration how much this siding and this deck would cost if you had to go buy it or have somebody install it for you. I think this deck would be around, just as it is right now, and it's not even done. I still want to put a roof on it and things, but as it is right now, it's about $10,000 if you were to have that made. The siding, I have no idea. This is my second time around with the siding. Let me show you around the other side here. These are the steps I made too. They're just rough cut, live edge pine, really thick. And this is the old siding. I put this up about 10 years ago, and this is I'm redoing it all because this is starting to crack, and I made some mistakes when I first started making it, so I'm gonna do it right this time. But anyways, let's go down here and I'll show you something. So, talking about the Catholic economy, an alternative Catholic economy, is that possible? Something that we could start? Something to get out of the system as a group, not just one here and one there? How do we do something like that? I hear people talking all the time, you know, we should be circulating money inside of our own kind, inside of the Catholics first, and then outside of that after, as a start, as a means to support each other. You know, my friend the carpenter needs lumber, so maybe I can produce it for him, you know, kind of thing, at a reduced cost, maybe even. Now everybody's story is different. Mine, for sure, I have a background in farming and background in forestry and logging, even though for the last 12, 13, 14 years I've been a professional inside the office, sitting at a computer, making maps. This is my background. So everybody's going to be a little different, of course. So I'll just flip the camera around again here. This is the sawmill that I bought about 2005 or so. You know, almost 20 years ago kind of thing. And I only bought it just to add on to my house. And then I started doing more projects with it, like adding the siding and so on and so forth. So as you know, in the last couple of months or whatever, I lost my job. Now I've got this tool here. Well, I can still work on my house, I can save money, and I can also cut lumber, which is at a premium right now. And we got our first significant snowfall last night, so this is what I did in about one afternoon. I had a couple of timbers and some thick live edge planks here, and then some 1-inch. And whoa, look at that. I forgot to pick up my tools last night. I'll have to clean that up later. So this is all stuff that I've never done this before. I've never marketed my own lumber before. I've always just used it for personal stuff. But this is my new economy. I'm not going to go into the work world, and I'm not going into an office environment again, ever. It's not a place for a Catholic. You got women-dominated, feminist-dominated, I should say, ideology. If you're a guy and you get sexually harassed which happens. There's little or nothing you can do about it, but if it was the other way around, it would be completely, you know, doable for a woman to just get a guy in trouble all the time. And it's just, I'm not going back to that. I'm done with it. I've done that for 12 years, or whatever, however long I've been doing that for, and I've just had enough. It's time to get back to the basics. Time to create my own economy. And I think creating a Catholic economy starts at the home. It has to. It starts with thinking outside the box. It starts with going, oh, well, I can't afford to buy a house. What am I going to do to house all these children? Well, I'm going to spend $4,500 on a used sawmill, get a small loan, and I've got a lot of trees around here, so I can just harvest my own lumber and go at it and build, and that's what I did. Now you may be asking, well, what if you don't have the source of lumber? Well, let me just show you something here. All the stuff that I cut here the other day all came from these logs that are laying on the ground here that I got from somebody who was just trying to get rid of them. They had cut down a bunch of large spruce trees in their yard to, you know, prevent them from falling on their house, and also to open up some sunny areas so they wouldn't be in the shade all winter. And this is what I end up getting, like 24 big honking logs for nothing. And that can be turned into cashola. Now, you might be living by a beach, and this kind of thing isn't possible for you. But you have a skill set. You have a skill set. You went, and I know some of you on YouTube here, you've gone out and created your own economy. You know, whether it's service that you provide or produce that you make. And that's the whole idea. It starts at home. It starts with your own innovations at home, your own thinking outside the box to get yourself going. Here, all this firewood that I cut, and I did this by hand. I just a chainsaw and a truck. That's for sale for next year. It has to cure for a season. And there's more coming. The truck. Let's talk about that for a second, because vehicles are considered to be your second biggest purchase in your life. If you're a Catholic and you're struggling already just to keep a roof over your house, buying a vehicle is a huge deal. You can't just go out and spend $60,000 on some useless piece of crap. When you're buying a vehicle, you have to think, what is this vehicle used for? Is this vehicle just used for driving me back and forth to work every day? Well, if that's the case, you don't need a truck. You need a car, a small, fuel-efficient car, right? This truck is almost 20 years old, believe it or not. It looks pretty good still. I bought it secondhand in 2010. It still doesn't have 200,000 kilometers on it yet. It runs great. I have no intention of ever replacing it. I think it'll last me probably for the next 20 years at the amount I use it. Because I only use it for a truck. I don't use it to take myself to work, or I didn't use it to take myself back and forth to work. Unless it was an exception, like my wife needed my car that day, but which wasn't very often. It just gets used for the purpose it's built for. You know, this isn't not a vehicle to go back and forth to work every day in. I don't care how close you live to work, and think how much money you save. If you're only 5-minute drive inside a city to work, driving something like this is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. You don't need four-wheel drive if you live on pavement. No, I barely ever use four-wheel drive in this thing, and I'm out here in the snow and grass. I don't need it. That's for getting yourself out of trouble. It's not for getting yourself into trouble. So, thinking outside the box, right? It's how you start. I think it's how we start building an alternative Catholic economy. Thinking, recycling, reusing. Here, I'll show you something else, for example. I'm not quite done this. I built this little tiny dry kiln. I've got some birch here split. I didn't do it all by hand, but some of it was machine done. But if you look inside here, there's planks under there. that I cut those in about 3 hours. Green, they're worth about $1.50 a linear foot. There's about 450 linear feet there, so that's like over $500 green. But if I can dry it out, it's worth like $3.50, $4 a linear foot. So I built this thing here, and I swept the snow off of it yet today. But it's just like a little tiny greenhouse to help dry it out. And maybe in 2 or 3 months it'll be ready to sell, and I'll make 2 or 3 times what it would be green. So, and this contraption that I built is just all built out of scrap and scrag. This plastic I just happen to have laying around, left over from something. This lumber on here is just scrag, left over from the mill. Odds and ends pieces. The frame, the metal frame here that I used, is an old trampoline that the kids wore out. It's just the frame from the trampoline. So it's just, and the back here, this metal back, aluminum, that I started spray painting black, is old siding from my mobile home, from before I put the siding on it. I just saved it, and now I'm using some of it. So thinking outside the box, trying to build a Catholic alternative economy in a time when the supply chain is breaking down and labor shortages are they're at an all-time worse high, I guess. It's time to start thinking along these lines, and maybe if we all just started thinking outside the box a little bit, what we can offer, what we're good at, what our background is, how we can do it without investing a whole bunch of money. You know, for example, this little greenhouse cost me $0. I just had stuff laying around already, scrap from what I was cutting, the tools, the mill I've had for my usage as just trying to maintain a Catholic house, size-wise, I guess. I didn't go out and buy a brand new truck when I thought when everybody else was. There's no need for that keeping up with the Joneses crap. It's time to start helping each other, and I think this is one of the only ways I can do it, because I have no financial ability to start something. I don't have any money. I'm broke. I'm poor. Yeah, I'm on this land, but that takes all your money, right? It doesn't matter where you are. You're in a position where you're invested into something, but you have to try and think of ways to make your life. You don't need to spend as much as you think. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I had this job for years where I drove 2.5 hours a day to go to work. I didn't get paid for that either. I came out of my own pocket. I did that for years, and when I lost my job, I started thinking about it. When you add, excuse me, add up how much you spend on gas, plus the rate the government gives you per kilometer, say 50 cents a kilometer, I'm not making that much when I go to work. It's all going into my vehicle, into fuel. So what was I living on before? I don't need as much as I think, and there's a lot of people out there that think the same way. You don't need to have that brand new car. You can drive an old piece of crap, 4-cylinder, gutless, good on gas, reliable vehicle. You don't have to be like your neighbor Fred, who's got to keep up with his buddy Joe, because he just got a new truck. He's got a new douche truck, a new douche mobile. So you got to get one too. Don't think like that. That's not manly thinking. That's what boys think of. They think of getting toys. That's all they want. And usually these guys have no kids either, and they have barren wives. So maybe think about where you want to be when you're 65. Do you want to be wearing your faggoty golf clothes while you're chasing a little white ball around 160 acres? Or would you rather be a man and be tough and thinking outside the box, resilient, and go to your death, go to your grave like that, like a real man, not some guy with a Freedom 55 tag on his forehead. Not me. I'm not like that. I don't even want to be like that. So any ideas or comments or thoughts you have on starting an alternative Catholic economy? I think it starts at home with yourself, with your background, with what you're good at, with what you can invest in that's not going to kill you. Sure, maybe I've had to invest in a couple of small things over the years just to kind of make things work out, but it was over time. And if you're doing something and you want to get into it right away, you're going to have to really think that out and think about what kind of tools or gadgets and stuff you need to do your job. But other than that, just stay strong, get out there, create something new for yourself as a job. And you may have to work part-time while you're doing it, but you know it's going to be worth it in the long run. And to young Catholic men who are just starting a family, maybe you've got 1 or 2, 3 kids, whatever, you're just starting, start thinking about that. You're going to eventually run out of room. You're going to need more bedrooms for your kids. You're going to need a bigger dining room table. How are you going to acquire those things when you're already stretched thin? I mean, the modern world can't even it can't even really keep up with that. You know, getting 80-year mortgages and having to drop 60, 70,000 bucks just to get started isn't realistic for a growing Catholic family. So start thinking outside the box on what you can do with what you have around you. Not everybody has this opportunity where they're on the land and they have these, you know, trees everywhere that they can use as a resource, but maybe your area is different. Maybe your resources are different. Think about it. Think what's outside the box. Think of ways to make the economy, your home economy, sustainable and even profitable. And I think that's a good start. I think building an alternative Catholic economy starts at home. Catholic Northman, out.